Hi, this is Val Guillaume. I just want to let the public know in regards to the continued abuse of my human rights by the Canadian government and what I intend to do about it. At this point, I'm now going to be filing charges against every single Canadian government official who has abused my human rights with the International Criminal Court. I will be doing that today or within the next few days. That involve individuals in the police division, crown attorneys, justices of the peace, and or judges, those in the fire services, including the fire chief, and they can all come after me. It has reached a point now where I think I have enough evidence to proceed against them for committing crimes against humanity involving myself, and also for their own personal corruption in carrying out their legal duties under their own constitution, Canadian law. But I want to mention this morning in regards to a matter I had at the one of these Canadian courts, where I had a hearing where I was proceeding against charges against an individual who happened to be a landlord, in this case Angela Sterling, and who is an agent of the police. It's abundantly clear because they've tried many, many times and in many different ways, through bribery, police, fire, a lot of these government officials that she's working with, I believe, against me. So it's not unusual this morning when I went to the court that they tried to minimize the situation involving her. So right now she's facing 10 charges. The first thing that happened in the court is that the Crown only came in there with 2 charges against her. However, the JP had in front of her the 10 charges that was originally accepted by the previous JP in regards to this individual, and she decided to go with that. The problem I have is that I requested from her, the Justice of the Peace, her name is Karen Valentine, and the Crown's name is James, James Dunda. Now, and this is the court at 1911 Eglinton Avenue East in Scarborough. So, first of all, when I went to I requested from the JP that the matter, because there's so many charges, 10 charges, I requested that the matter be adjourned and for a date to be set aside to deal with those 10 charges against that individual, which is not an unusual request. I've made that request before, and it has been granted by different JPs. But this, obviously, this Justice of the Peace wanted to, I guess, prove herself in regards to the procedure and that she knows what she's doing. However, it turns out to be unfair to me. And so, because what she intended to do, and I didn't want to participate any further because it was so unfair. She believes that she can deal with all 10 charges within 45 minutes, because what happened is that the prayer enquête starts at 9 a.m. She already came in late at between 9:10 and 9:15. When I arrived there this morning, there was a defense counsel there, because what happened is that the court also deals with youth matters, and so I believe he's a defense counsel, was there for the youth matters, and he was told by the Crown to come back at 9:30. So the Crown believed that he could have dealt with my charges in 15 minutes. Really, that's what it's saying, because the other guy was coming back in at 9:30. However, the JP thought she can deal with the matters in 45 minutes, because she began the court at around 9:15 or so. And that was grossly unfair to me, and I'm like, no, I will not have any part of this. I should have a right to be heard, to have my matters heard in a sufficient time. How are you going to cram 10 charges, 10 charges in 45 minutes? That's grossly unfair to me. She's suggesting that she will begin to hear some, and if she doesn't finish by 10 o'clock, then she will adjourn the matter. Why not just adjourn all of the matter for another day and then have all of the matters heard? So I wouldn't have any part of it. I could see that the proceeding was being grossly unfair. Other justices of the peace, more experienced justices of the peace, would have looked at the situation and said, look, we can't deal with 10 charges within 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And if it was up to the Crown, it would have been within 15 minutes. Because that's when he told the guy, I believe, to come back at 9:30, So he thought he could deal with my matters in 15 minutes because he wanted really only to proceed on 2 charges, the 2 assault charges against this individual. And so when the JP now came into the court, she had in front of her all of the 10 charges. So she did not really go along with the request of the Crown to proceed only with those 2 charges. And that's a very common pattern where the Crown Attorney usually try to reduce the charges against the accused in my case. So the Justice of the Peace who was seized of the matter this morning had all 10 charges. The problem I had with her, and she's her name is Karen Valentine, Justice of the Peace Karen Valentine. She believes that she could hear all 10 matters in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, because what happened at 10 o'clock, they have like bail hearings, and I think they, or maybe they will continue with the youth court, but I know usually they have bail hearings at 10 o'clock, and according to the Crown, and I've been in that court before many other times to lay charges, they also deal with youth matters, I believe. So I would not continue with the matter. On the instruction of the Crown, I believe she wants to strike the matters. It can be appealed. It will be appealed. But what I'm stating this morning is that there's been such gross abuse of my human rights without any kind of protection. I'm prepared now to file charges in the International Criminal Court against every single Canadian government official who was abused my rights in any way. And a lot of those charges are going to be against the police because the police and the courts are working together. And in this case, I have seen a lot of corruption go on in regards to how they've been involved in bribery. Government official has been in bribery as far as this individual, Angela Sterling. Now, a lot of people think that bribery, if you're not familiar with the law, that bribery only involves money. No. In this particular case, and even if it does involve money, I'm not privy to that information. But I do know under the Canadian Criminal Code that another section of bribery, another definition of bribery is giving special consideration to someone. I have seen that abundantly in regards to the police, the Toronto Fire Services, the Fire Chief, Deputy Fire Chief, Crown Attorneys, in regards to this property owner and her legal property, Angela Sterling. And it is a major, major corruption, and they need to get the message that they cannot act in such a corrupt manner, disregard public safety, disregard people's legal rights, to protect some private citizen or to give her some special consideration, which is the same as bribery under the Canadian Criminal Code as far as the definition. So I am going to be filing with the International Criminal Court in regards to those individuals. I've already requested under the Freedom of Information Act from the City Clerk's Department files on certain divisions and what's going on there. And I've also requested from way back in November all of the data from the Toronto Police. And I'm going to follow up that today because I need the name of all of the officers who were supposed to investigate and did not investigate. For instance, I spoke with someone who was going to be a witness in regards to one of my matters against people that I've charged. And from way back in October, November, I gave the police her information as witness. And I spoke with this individual recently and asked her if the police has been in touch with her. And she told me no. So the police did not investigate. They did not follow up, and they've never investigated in regards to me. What they've done is try to frame me up, try to carry out actions against me that is a violation on the international human rights. So I am proceeding in the International Criminal Court under Article 7, Crimes Against Humanity. And so it's torture, abuse of my rights. The Canadian government has carried out torture against me and other cruel and unusual punishments. And these are the things that I'm seeing in the courts, because any experienced judge and justice of the peace would realize that it's not conducive to try to cram 10 charges in such a short period of time. It's grossly unfair to me. How are you going to hear? What are you going to do? Rush through the charges? In the eyes of the Crown, and I've seen this before, he believes he can do this in just a few minutes. Okay, he was prepared to deal with the 2 charges that he wanted the JP to deal with this morning, and finish it off in 10-15 minutes. Okay, so he comes into the courtroom with a presumption of bias, really. Okay. He came in there to knock the charges down. That's what they always do. And even when you have credible evidence, such as physical evidence, like videos or witnesses, they still try to do that. I was also in court on January 27th in regards to the criminal proceeding against another accused person, and had the Crown acted in ways that it shouldn't. That matter as well, trying to have a mediation for charges that involved a weapon involved in that accused against me, and suggesting that mediation should, we should mediate the matter, which, when it's actually assault with a weapon, is an indictable offense. So you can see the misconduct of the Crown and how they try to abuse my human rights, and even under the Canadian Charter and also on the international laws. I am proceeding against them today. I expect them to take reprisal actions against me and to come against me and to try to carry out more human rights abuse against me. But I am taking steps to enforce my human rights on the international laws. I've done that before. I have taken other Canadian officials before the International Criminal Court. This is my second time in initiating process against them, and I'm going to be doing that because I have abundant evidence that my human rights is abused. Now I have to go and appeal in regards to this JP's action this morning, because she's of the opinion that she can hear my matters in less than an hour to deal with all 10 charges. It's unheard of. It's grossly unfair to me. I am not going to take part in that, but my matters will be heard. The matter will be coming back to court, even if I have to appeal it or whatever I have to do, because you can lay the charges again if you have new information, or you can appeal it, whatever way I want to proceed in this matter. But the charges are going to continue before the court against that individual. So and included in those charges is at least 5 counts of destroyed my property when she broke my window and doused my home with water and damaged my property, plus the assault and other charges against her. So I want to expose the continued human rights abuse that's being carried out against me by the Canadian government, and what I intend to do about it. I'm not going to sit any further while this continues against me by Canadian government officials. It's an orchestrated attack against me, and I don't have to put up with it. I do have human rights. I do have basic human rights that need to be respected and that need to be protected, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So I will keep you posted as far as what the process is going to be in the International Criminal Court. I'm already familiar with it. This is my second time in taking actions against Canadian government officials before the International Criminal Court. This is what the is going to be. It's going to involve those individuals this morning, whatever role they play in it, Karen Valentine, James Dunda, previous Crown attorneys, police officers, yes. So you can see, I don't believe that they're going to sit down and take it lightly, but it is my right, and I am going to enforce that. And if I can't enforce it in the Canadian courts, I'm going to enforce it in the international courts that are supposed to protect my human rights as a human being, because what's happening to me is torture, especially psychological torture, and I'm not going to sit down and continue to take this. I do have rights, and I'm going to enforce my rights. So this is Val Guillaume reporting for my blog, Canada Human Rights Abuse Exposed. The truth is, Canada Human Rights Abuse Exposed. The truth is revealed.